I think we both need to apologize to Cynthia Erivo for not putting I'm Here on this list.
I know, this is crazy. This is crazy.
Hi everyone, welcome back to After Broadway, the podcast where we deep dive into anything and everything musical theater. I'm Tara.
I'm Stefania.
And in today's episode, we're back with another ranking episode, and this time it's Tearjerkers. It's been a minute since we've done a ranking episode.
I know. I was like, I forgot how to do this.
I don't even know the last one that we did. I can't even think of it.
I can't remember either, but I'm sure we could pull it up. But there's a playlist on our YouTube channel.
Yes, there is. And also, if you listen to us in like the depths of the pandemic, we were like really doing ranking episodes like every 2 weeks because we had no content. So now that we're seeing so many things, we have lots of content, and these have been dropped. But here we are with a Tearjerkers episode. This is something that you and I have discussed doing for probably years. It was always on like a list of what kind of a ranking episode we should do. I don't know why it took us so long to do it, but here we are.
Yeah, it's always kind of, the next one, but it's finally here. Today is the day.
Yeah.
So much build up to this independently,
I know.
But now it's
what
here.
What if it disappoints?
What if it disappoints? That's the thing. That's what we need to talk about. We need to, I think, each kind of maybe bring up what our definition of tearjerker is. We did not discuss this in advance because I do think this is a bit of a personal definition. Mm-hmm. But I think we should each maybe say what defined or what was our personal criteria for our lists.
Do you want to start?
Okay. I will start. So for me, I was looking at my list that I put together, and not all of them are sad necessarily, but I do think of them as very like emotional. And many of them come, they come at different points in the show. It's not necessarily like at the end, but for me, they're all, I think, moments of emotional catharsis that have brought me to tears, whether that's, oftentimes just listening to the album independently, not even in the midst of the show, something that I can just listen to that song and tear up while I'm like cleaning my room or washing the dishes while listening to the song, not necessarily within the context of the show. So that was kind of my thing, something with like a big kind of emotional release, not necessarily sadness, and something that kind of is standalone emotional. What are your thoughts here?
I would basically agree with that, although looking at my list, many of these are sadness, but also like
sadness is about to come, but like don't worry.
It's not all like straight like not all of these songs are like someone has died, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Whereas like I feel like in other times we've done these ranking episodes, there's more of like a clear criteria for it of like, I'm thinking of like an I Want song. It often comes in Act 1. This isn't the case in this situation. Yeah. It could be song 2. It could be song 30. Like it just is something that evokes an emotion. Also, as I was going through my list here, past me again, as I said, that we've been talking about doing this for a long time. So I actually had a list, I think, from 2022 created. Wow. And like past me put 20 songs on this list. And I was like, you know what? Still holds up to today. Like a lot of these are still like the same. I added like a couple more and changed out a few here and there just based on things that I've seen. But I also think this is kind of different in the sense from other episodes that we've done, in the fact that like we could be talking about the same show here but have two completely different songs based on how they've made us feel, which is like, again, personal. Yes, not the criteria of like an I Want song, an Act 2 opener, an Act 1 finale. Like those are clear, cannot be anything else from one show, but this is kind of open to your own interpretation. Should I have worn waterproof mascara for this episode? Did I mess up here?
Maybe. I don't know.
I think I'll be fine. But we will be doing our American Idol style of reveals. So welcome back to that.
I forgot
but for the sake of this episode, we as always do our top 5 like songs, and then just to condense our honorable mentions, I've chosen 3. You too?
Yes, I've also chosen 3. This is
I
all
do have
flexible.
A list of 28, but like
I have a large list. it's all flexible. You know, if you say one, maybe I'll pivot. You know, who knows?
Right. Yeah.
But you know, I think I'm ready to go. I think we should start.
Great. Okay, you're number 5.
Okay, my number 5. My number 5 comes from. I forgot we did this.
What was the episode we did this for, like, the Tony nominations one year too, where we're like, why are we doing this?
Like Ryan Seacrest, like.
Actually, no, I literally think I just did it. I think I just did it for the Way Too Early, being like, this person is getting nominated because. Silly.
Okay, here we go. It's getting real. My number 5 ranked tearjerker song.
She's already wiping her tears.
Tears of laughter. This is from, you know, one of my very classic favorite shows. I don't think anyone will be shocked at this song being on my list. This is a song I can belt out in the car and just sob. I feel just, especially when, like, you know, the specific performer that kind of sings, in my mind, the definitive version. Many people have different opinions on that, but my definitive version, I think his vocal performance of this song just, like, really, like, grips my heart. And it is from classic show Company. Being Alive.
Oh my god, I can't believe this is on a list.
This is shocking.
I also didn't say off the top of this episode, but I messaged Steph and was like, are we not repeating here? And she was like, I don't even remember what I've done on previous lists, so we can repeat. But this is a repeat for Steph here, I'm pretty sure.
I'm sure it is. Because what has brought me to tears more than this? I mean, 4 more songs that we will get to.
I was going to say, yeah.
But this one, I just feel the emotional release of this throughout the show. You are watching kind of Bobby be an observer and kind of on the outskirts of everyone else's life. And in this moment, you know, he is finally vulnerable. And I'm thinking of the Raul Esparza performance of it on that 2006-2007 cast album. And just the way he, like, kind of, like, growls into this song and how much, like, passion and, like, openness he finally has in a way that he hasn't in the rest of the show just always, like, gets me. And just the way that, this moment of, like, first moment of vulnerability for this character just really, really gets me every time. What do you think?
I'm not shocked it's on your list. It's not on my list. It's on the very long list, but, like, I actually didn't even think about this one when I was like, oh, I'm going to choose some songs that maybe Steph won't put on her list. Didn't even cross my mind. No. I mean, I don't listen to this song as much as you do, and I feel like when I saw Company, I didn't feel, but it was very different. It was a very different, obviously, version. So I don't even think I was moved to tears in that version. Maybe I was.
But yeah, that's my number 5 song. Tara, what is your number 5 song here today?
Okay, my number 5 song, we're going to stick with Stephen Sondheim here. And I am going to bring into play a show that I probably cried the entire way through, and so did you. So, Merrily We Roll Along, but I don't think it's the song that you think it's going to be. Wow. So I've chosen, it is technically 2 songs, but it's the same song because it's a reprise. There's another one on my list that maybe I wouldn't quite classify in the exact same way. But I have chosen Not a Day Goes By because when thinking about this show in general, I was like, I literally could pick 12 songs because everything moved me to tears so much. But it was the original version of this song when Katie Rose Clark, who sounds absolutely heartbreaking on this cast recording, sings this to a, like, so distraught Jonathan Groff, and it's that, like, moment when he just fell to his knees at the end of this song and started sobbing that I also started sobbing. And when I listened to this again recently, I listened to this first, and then I listened to the reprise, and I, like, highly recommend that because the way that Katie Rose Clark changes her vocal style is so interesting because the first version is absolutely heartbreaking, and then the second version is so, like, hopeful. They're about to get married, and the sadness comes from Lindsay Mendez in the reprise versus, I don't know, it's just, like, we've talked about this before. We talked about this on our Merrily episode, but these two songs, the way that this show is staged by going backwards, like, it hits different when you listen to them back to back, for sure.
The way you almost, the first time you hear it is the reprise, and then you hear it later as almost the original version, and hearing them in that reverse order kind of makes them both hit, like,
it's so harder. It's like so devastating. I would say, like, I would classify this as like a sad song to me, whereas like the other Sondheim we just spoke about is like a happy sad song in a way. It's still like emotional, but there's like pride and happiness in that. Obviously the first version, the first time we hear the song, they're like going through a divorce or about to get divorced. They're at the court. But I just remember, like, I just felt every character's pain while they were singing this on stage. So that's why it's on my list.
Wow. Love it. Obviously, Merrily We Roll Along is an absolutely emotionally devastating show. What I do find hard is that I like, yes, obviously this song is so sad. And then I also was thinking of Our Time here. But for me, what like really got me about that show was not necessarily the song moments, but like the whole piece as a whole. So it actually did not make my list this time.
Well, that's the thing. The whole show in itself is a tearjerker. Yeah. So like,
I was having a hard time like pinpointing, the tear-jerking song moment.
Yeah. Yeah, I felt the same way. And then when I listened to the song, I was like, oh, this is the one that like really devastated me. So I have to choose it. Yeah.
But yeah, like I was thinking like what sometimes just to hear, let's say like Our Time, on, if it comes up on shuffle, you're just like, oh no. Even like this. What is it? Like song 3, like It Was. That song gets me every single time. Just that melody.
It's not. It's that, but it's also
you can't go back in time.
It's the.
And then we went to back in time.
It's the scripting of like we're not the three of us anymore. It's one and one and one. I'm just like like dagger. It's the whole show like. We just got new casting actually for the Merrily movie. Hannah Cruz is gonna be Gussie. We'll see it in 50 years, so...
Will I be here? Will I be alive?
Will Richard Linklater be here?
Is Richard Linklater gonna make it? Paul Mescal.
Anyway.
Are you gonna make it? Ben Platt.
Okay. And Beanie.
And Beanie. Okay, I'm here.
You're number 4.
Number 4 on my list, we have a theme. And that theme is Stephen Sondheim.
Oh my god, I think I know what this is gonna be, but go for it.
This is actually where I'm not sure. This is where the Stephen Sondheim runs out on my list, but
same. Well, yeah, mine ran out before, but go ahead.
This is a show that we saw for the first time March 2020. This is I know, I think I took it in a different direction. This is a show we saw for the first time at March 2020, and it was in the round, and we were fortunately in the first row, and the house lights were up, and when this song started being sung, and the choir of like high school students surrounding the whole room started to sing this song, I just could not take it and was sobbing in the front row, seen by everyone, seen by all the actors who were feet away from me, the audience members across from me. And there's not really like, this is another one of those ones. It's like, okay, is it the song that's making me cry, or is it the full build up to this moment that has been making me cry? And it's a combination of both. And so now every time I hear this song,
she hasn't even said it yet. Like it's been 25 seconds of a reveal.
And we're going to Hollywood. Every time I hear the song, it brings me back to hearing it in that moment. And the song is Sunday, the Act 1 finale from Sunday in the Park with George. This moment where we've been following George Seurat sacrifice everything for his art, and finally to see him create the painting. And it is, one of the most seminal and recognizable pieces of art. And you're wondering, is it all worth it? I don't know. Maybe yes. And I'm sobbing. And it's so beautiful.
Yeah. The reveal was longer than the explanation.
Well, it was all together. I'm a storyteller. I'm weaving a web.
I actually thought you were going to go Into the Woods here.
Yes, I could have, but I didn't.
Yeah. No,
So
it is a
that's
beautiful
where
song. It's definitely on my list. And then when I thought about it, I was like, oh, remember how good the Sunday scene was also in Tick, Tick, Boom? Very different emotional, state, obviously. Because it's more of like a parody moment in that. Could have picked many songs from Tick, Tick, Boom. Didn't, but maybe should have.
Sorry, Tick, Tick, Boom did not make it here.
Yeah, didn't make the list. But yeah, that was the first time I had listened to Sunday in the Park with George before, but not really that much. So that was kind of the first time that like I had heard everything together. Also on my long list here is Move On. That song stunning as well. Specifically like the Jake Gyllenhaal, Annalie Ashford version. There's a lot of like emotion in that version, but Sunday is just one of those songs that I think will forever be on some kind of a list, no matter what the list is. So
it was just so good.
It was
just so good.
When you said March 2020, I was like, what did we see?
What did we see in March 2020?
I really had to like go back.
Our introduction to Tess Banger. March 2020. Remember that?
Exactly.
Tara, what is your number 4?
My number 4, here's where we go modern musical theater. This is not a song, I mean, it is a sad song, but I wouldn't say that, like, I'm crying in this song because I'm necessarily sad listening to it. This is exactly kind of what we talked about at the beginning of this episode of, like, it just evokes emotion. And when I thought about Tearjerkers, I was like, well, I obviously have to talk about a song that when a certain person hit a note, I double tear wiped in Chicago with you. And that is Heart of Stone from Six.
Heart of Stone.
It's, again, like, I don't, like, relate personally to this song. I understand that, like, it's a tragedy that she's describing, but for me, no matter who sings it, it's the vocals that really, like, evoke emotion. Hearing Abby Mueller sing it that first time was like nothing I've ever experienced in a theater before. We were both like, I didn't even, when you like feel yourself crying and you can like feel that. I didn't even feel myself get ready to cry. My tears were just flowing. And that's the only time I think that's ever really happened in a theater before. It was crazy.
It's nice to be, and I feel like it sometimes rarely happens for us anymore, but to be so caught off guard or caught by surprise by seeing something in a show. And I feel we truly were, that day in June 2019, we were surprised, like we were not expecting that. And that's why I think it hit so hard.
Yes, exactly. But then after that, it became like a fun thing to me to see like who could sing it the best, who could evoke emotion the best. And like, gotta shout out, we've talked about her before, but Kelsey Kimmel really got me in Toronto. That was one of my most emotional, minus Abby Mueller version, like times of hearing Heart of Stone. I feel like for these women that get to play Jane Seymour, if you really like kind of tap into that side of your vocals, you can have the entire audience like in a puddle. It's crazy what can happen there. So I don't know that I would like necessarily say that this is like a be all end all of Tearjerkers, but based on the way that I immediately burst into tears, it had to be on my list.
No, it is beautiful. And we've also spoken about the way that they use like recognizable
pop songs,
styles of music and recognizable like music tricks almost to get you into that emotional place. So good. I'll shout out the original Toronto Jane Seymour, Maggie Lacasse, who when we first heard her, she's French Canadian, so she has like a little French accent, and I was like, it's really giving Celine Dion right now, and that also like kind of evoked that emotion because you already have that connection or you're feeling that musical style, like, and you're primed to sob.
It's so good. What a great song.
My number 3, okay, this is kind of where maybe I veer slightly and maybe people are not going to follow, but to me this is one where I've just had this, in my headphones listening to music and just started crying. And I said, why am I crying? This is a happy song. And and I think it's maybe the specific revival, her specific voice, but this is from Once on This Island, Waiting for Life, the I Want song, quite early in the show. I just feel, I think almost similar to Being Alive, even though, you know, different points in the show, but it is about a character who, you know, is on the precipice of something and just like wants so badly for her life to begin and for her to sing so passionately about it. And I think just like Hailey Kilgore's voice on that revival cast album just truly gets me, and you're just like soaring to new heights on this song, and that's just the emotional height. It's not necessarily sadness, but just like how passionate the character is what brings me to tears here.
Yeah, I think a really good example of this is the Tony performance. You can really see that like joy in her characterization. I also feel like this kind of relates to like the six of it all, of like vocally it just like emotes, or it evokes emotion. And like she's just this like young girl that has so much hope, and then everything kind of goes wrong, but like it's okay.
It's okay. Yeah, I was, you know, that's a show that I do love, and that famously when I saw it I did not cry. I think I was too stressed. But
neither did I, but you know why? I think it was the round of it all. I was watching other people cry so much, I'm like, why aren't I crying?
There's a lot happening, you're like, cry, and then it just doesn't happen for you. But yeah, I was going through that cast album and just saying like, which is the one? And it's hard to pinpoint what moment it is. And so I fell back on, this is the one where I've just been alone listening to a song and just started crying, like independently. So that is the one for me. Tara, what is your number 3 song?
Okay, my number 3, I feel like, is the reason for the Tearjerkers. This was, I think, why I wanted this to be here in the first place. And you're like, number 3? Why isn't this number 1? I've been waiting to put this song on a list. It's probably been one that could have come up so many times, but I was waiting for this specific ranking episode. And I'm also here for, finally, in this entire list here, a death song. This is a funeral song. And this is I'll Cover You Reprise from Rent.
Oh. Wow, I really thought something else was coming. Here we go.
Oh, did you think it was With You from Ghost?
I did. I really did think it was With You from Ghost.
So it was going to be, but I already used it, and I was like, I can't use it again. It was in my flops, and I was like, you know what? That's okay. It can stay in the flops. I think
that is okay. That is okay. But I really thought we were getting With You from Ghost. Okay, go on. I'll Cover You Reprise.
No. Anybody that's listened to this podcast since we've started it, I think knows that this is like one of my favorite songs ever. I think we like kind of really broke it down when we listened to, or when we did our Rent episode recently, when we saw it a couple years ago in Stratford. Every version of this song gets me. Actually, specifically in Stratford was like really painfully emotional. And I know everyone's going to say what they want to say about the Rent movie, but I do love Jesse L. Martin's version in the movie. I just, first of all, he has an incredible voice, so like it is what it is. But then also like Brandon Victor Dixon's version in Rent Live. It's one of those songs that, like, yes, obviously the subject matter is very sad. Like, Angel has just died. We are at the funeral. Collins is basically like giving this eulogy in their happy song that happened much earlier in the show, and now this song has like completely taken a turn, and it's absolutely devastating. But this is another one for me that like the vocal performances that these men give on this song like really evoke emotion in me. So shout out again to Lee Siegel for his version in Stratford, because that one like literally left me unwell when it ended. But beyond the vocals, it's such a beautiful song. It brings in Seasons of Love. It brings in all of the characters. We're getting like amazing vocals from like all of the background, but the side characters as well. It's one of my favorite musical theater songs ever. It always will be. And yeah, again, the reason that this list was created. Sorry to With You from Ghost, but you already had your moment.
Sorry to With You from Ghost. Sorry to nothing stops another day from Ghost.
Casey Levy's had her moment.
Casey Levy, she has her moment. Yes, I fully agree. I'll Cover You Reprise. It is almost, chemically engineered to make you cry, that song. Like, it just has every single ingredient to evoke emotion from the audience. You are being emotionally manipulated by this song. And I'm there for it. I want to be emotionally manipulated by this song.
You know what's funny? I had the original
songs,
version. Yeah. I had the original version on my love songs list, so that really shows you like the difference in lists here. Because yeah, you know what? Like the reprise. Sometimes we overlook a reprise, but that's where they get you. Is in the reprises sometimes.
You got to do a callback. You know what makes things more emotional is
then a callback.
Calling back.
So true. So true.
You gotta call back. That's why we watched the Wicked movie. It's a call forward, I guess. But when they're like, "Is it true you were her friend?" and they're like, the for good, like,
maybe I'm about to talk about that soon.
Anyway, you know, so a reprise. We've talked a lot about reprise today, actually. But yeah, you already kind of have that connection, and then to bring it back and twist it or change the meaning of the words in those ways, and change, you know, modulate, you know, down a bit to make you feel a different emotion. Like,
it's really true.
What great tools.
I remember the first time hearing this, and when I like clocked in that we were singing the same song, just so much sadder, I was like, this is devastating. This is heartbreaking. As you said, this is manipulative. Like,
yes, it is.
It's perfect. It's perfect for that reason.
On purpose, we're manipulating, and it's okay.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, I will move on to my number 2 song. This song is actually the opening number of a musical. It's hard to call it a sad song, and I do think that there definitely is an emotional connection based on, you know, where we're coming from, where I've seen this show, just, you know, my life leading up to it, my family. And this song is Welcome to the Rock from Come From Away.
Wow.
I literally cannot hear this song without crying or think about it without crying.
Same, but wow.
Like, is this not a tear-jerking song? Especially,
it is.
You know, you're in the audience. They are singing. It's, you know, 12 powerful voices. Well, I'm crying now. And they're saying, you know, I'm an Islander, and there's so much pride in their hometown. Are we well? I think we'd be okay today.
This is the first time I've seen you have such emotion for this song. We've talked about it so many times.
I know.
It was on our opening numbers list. I actually think it might have been like number 2 or 1.
Maybe, but you know, I do think, you know, we're in a tear-jerking mood. We're in not a sad mood, but an emotional mood today, and so here I am crying. We're all well. We're well. Anyway, it's all fine. But and just, you know, where that first like 5 minutes of the show, I've already cried my makeup off, and that's that. So
we were again emotionally manipulated when we saw this in 2021.
Yes, 2021.
To reopen theaters in Toronto. That was the craziest.
Yes, that was crazy.
That was the craziest time to hear that. But also, it's not quite in the same way because it's not called like Welcome to the Rock reprise, but the finale is this song. So it does do the same thing. I'm already like devastated by the end of the show. And then it's almost, you hear this in such an uplifting way at the very end. And you're crying happy tears now because like of everything that happened.
Have I told the story? The first time I ever saw Come From Away, I did standing room at the Royal Alex here in Toronto with my mom, and we were standing at the back, and we're both absolutely sobbing, and like the usher who was responsible kind of for the standing room people comes around passing out tissues to everyone in standing room. So I was like,
thank you so much.
I can't hold it in.
Like, where were you an hour ago?
They're ready. Just like handing them out at the end because we were just leaking a mess. Yeah. Anyway, so my number 2 song here, Welcome to the Rock from Come From Away.
Wow. I can't even picture what could be your number 1. I feel like we've gone so different here than I thought.
I actually think it's like, I know, no overlaps. I think my number 1, once you hear it, is like quite expected, to be honest, but
all right.
It just hits every time. Tara, what's your number 2 song?
Okay, my number 2 was just teased
Sorry.
like 30 seconds ago. No, this, I played with this on 1 or 2 because, again, anybody that knows me, this is my be all end all song from Wicked. This is For Good. And speaking on the moment that Steph just spoke about, I was unwell in the movie theater. What was it? 1 minute and 45 seconds in when they did this to me. Maybe a little longer. Maybe it was like 3 minutes because it's like halfway through No One Mourns, or No More Mourns the Wicked.
Within the first 10 minutes of the movie.
Yes. I obviously know that the song is was going to be in the movie, but I didn't expect it to come in that way. And then the scene that goes right, if I think about it too hard, like, I literally will cry. Anyway, this song has always meant so much to me ever since I saw Wicked for the very first time. This is a happy, sad song, I would say, because it's Galinda and Elphaba talking about their friendship, but also the fact that they're like never gonna see each other again, and they're both kind of like coming to terms with that. I've like sung it at many a talent show, both parts. Wow. It's just,
have I ever, not to interrupt, have I ever told you about the time I did a tribute contemporary dance to this song?
No.
To a friend who passed away. It's not funny.
Oh my goodness.
Funny, but 2 of my friends sang the song and I did a tribute contemporary dance.
Wow. So it fits the criteria is what I'm hearing.
It really does.
Yeah, it's just like, it's one of those songs that, you know, if you ever see Wicked and you're sitting in a theater, like, everybody is wiping a tear at this moment. But I do think that, you know, we'll talk about it when we get to part 2 of the Wicked movie, but I do think introducing that theme so early was so smart. Because then it led us also to, like, my favorite scene from that movie, which was the Ozdas Ballroom scene, which has, if we're going to talk about new tearjerker, the Ozdas Ballroom instrumental is actually maybe number 1 on the list here, because it takes the motifs of For Good and just, like, other instrumentals from Wicked and puts it all together. But, like, I can't even imagine what's going to happen in November when they sing this song. Because I literally, like, I hear the first 3 notes, I'm tearing up. Like, everywhere I go, it doesn't even matter. So it's one of those songs that I think is so ingrained, like, in my life that even if I saw, like, a bad version of it, I'm probably still crying, because just the music itself is so, it's so beautiful to me. It's like, it's just one of those songs that, it's one of my favorite songs ever. Musical theater or not, one of my favorite songs ever. So, For Good, number 2.
Number 2. Wow, I don't even know what your number 1 could possibly be here either. I'm like looking at my.
Watch it be the same. List. That would be crazy.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. So.
I'm just like looking through the list. Like, what could it possibly be?
It is in your playlist. I will say that.
Oh, it's in the playlist. Okay. I'll go with my number 1. We've actually spoke about, you know, the lead actor of this musical earlier today. I was actually thinking about him last night as I was putting my list together, and I said, you know, there are so many cast albums with his voice that have been so special to me over time, but this one was the first and will forever be, you know, my favorite. The vocals on this song, absolutely stunning, and just the way it's structured and the amount of bootlegs I've watched, because I've never seen the show in person, famously, but the amount of bootlegs I've watched of this specific song, it knows no bounds. And this is Those You've Known from Spring Awakening.
You know what? Congrats to us. We really did that this time.
Congrats to us. We didn't overlap once. Okay. This is the finale of Spring Awakening. If people are unfamiliar, but Melchior, played by Jonathan Groff, who is the actor I'm speaking of, so many cast albums, you know, have his stunning voice on them. His 2 best friends have died at this point in the musical, and he's at the cemetery and he is seeing their graves, and at that point he's ready to join them, and kind of visions of them or their voices come. Not just his best friend, like the woman he loved. Well, yes, like sure, they're teens, but yes, the love of his life, I guess, Venla, played by you know, the vocals of Lea Michele, and Moritz, John Gallagher Jr., and they come in and speak to him and kind of talk him through this moment, and just the way that their voices overlap, the way, I mean, Spring Awakening, like, I'm literally so passionate about that music. But the way that their voices overlap and the way that they kind of hold, or like Melchior holds back and doesn't come in kind of till halfway through in this song. And it's gutting to me, this whole thing. And I think it also speaks to, this is one of the first, or maybe the first musical that I felt like passion for, like fandom for. And I think part of it is the kind of emotional heartstrings that it pulled throughout, culminating in this. I would just, as someone who grew up dancing, I would just like listen to the song and then like choreograph a contemporary dance about a theme to this song. Like, I'd just be like, yes, the only way to convey like is movement, is like, it just like, it grasped me, and for that reason, those you've known, Spring Awakening, my number one tear-jerking song.
Very good. Before I give my number one, I think we both need to apologize to Cynthia Erivo for not putting I'm Here on this list.
I know, this is crazy. This is crazy.
I was like, I can't do it because maybe Steph's going to do it. I don't know if you felt the same way that I might have done it, but I was just like, I can't put it here.
It was too expected, too done. But it is, sorry, let's actually do 2 minutes on I'm Here by Cynthia Erivo, but from The Color Purple, but specifically the Cynthia Erivo version, because let's do 2 minutes on it right here.
We've cried together with this song weekly. So many times.
We've cried to the song weekly, like a scheduled weekly cry to Cynthia Erivo singing I'm Here.
We haven't done it in a long time, but like we did do this.
Should we close out the episode
by listening to I'm Here? No, it's just like it is, if you're looking up tearjerker, like it is on a list. Like it is maybe the tearjerker of all. The song itself, the lyrics and everything, but it is Cynthia Erivo's version that, again, her like vocalization on this song is absolutely outrageous. Again, watch that Tony performance, because I remember watching that and immediately like bursting into tears. We haven't even done my number one, but this is hijacking this.
I know. This is actually...
But I was just like, sorry, I'm so sorry, Cynthia, because like you absolutely deserve to be here, but it's too obvious. Have we used it before? Is that why I felt this way?
I don't know.
I don't think we have.
It's almost too obvious. It's almost too obvious. Like, I just wanted, to bring some other things up. Cynthia Erivo singing I'm Here from The Color Purple. It's everything.
Like,
it's honestly
perfection.
Everything.
No notes.
And it's another song that feels like an emotional catharsis, an emotional release.
Yes.
It's at the end of the show, and it's just like, everything is coming out. But also I think it takes so much like vocal talent. Like, she spoke recently about it being harder than Defying Gravity because you have to like start, like reel it back in so many times. Stunning, gorgeous.
So good.
Okay, now finally.
My number one.
Your number one.
No, as you were talking about Spring Awakening, I was like, oh, this is kind of interesting because my number one song is also a trio song. I do think that overlapping vocals really gets me in quite an emotional way. This is a show that I love, and I didn't know where to put it on this list, and then I listened to it again recently, and I burst out crying listening to it. So I was like, okay, so all of these other songs, they definitely like make me emotional, but not in the sense that I was so moved to tears the way that I was the other day. This is the finale from Fun Home, and it's Flying Away.
Wow.
Again, we're bringing new songs to the list here. This was actually like number 2 on my list in 2022. So I was like, oh, it's definitely held up over time. I feel like this is one of those shows that, like, when we saw this together, I saw this on Broadway, but then Shar and I saw this together. What year was that? 2018?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, before we started the podcast. I think it was 2018.
Something like that. And I remember both of you were like, this show isn't sad. And then we get to a certain moment, and we're like, this show is devastating. So basically, like, without giving too much away here for anyone that hasn't seen Fun Home, it's all 3 versions of Allison singing this song. Actually, you know what? Sorry, I have to spoil this. We have to give it away because that's the whole premise of the song. So literally right before this, the dad dies. He commits suicide, basically. And we have this moment of, they've always had this hard relationship with their dad, but didn't almost know how to like express it. And this song is that. I think what gets me the most is you've got Beth Malone, oh my god, Emily Skeggs, I think is her name, and then Sydney Lucas all singing on this. And Sydney Lucas brings the most youthfulness to this song. I'm gonna cry. When she's singing, it's just like when she sings the I Want to Play Airplane, it brings you back to the best moments she had with her dad, when now all of these girls, the same character, have also had the worst moments with their dad. And it is just so heartbreaking and so devastating, but it's also sung so beautifully when it ends with like the oldest Allison. Is that her name? Am I saying this? Is that her name?
Yeah, Allison.
It is,
Allison
right?
Bechdel.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. When it ends with the oldest Allison, like, saying caption, like, there was a moment of peace when I, like, flew above him or something like that. It's just, like, it's one of the most beautiful songs. It is so powerful, I think. And yeah, there's something about, like, multiple people singing on one song about somebody that I think can really evoke such emotion. Wow, I didn't actually think that song was going to make me as emotional as it did, but it's freaking devastating.
That's why it's your number one. That's why it's your number one here. Yeah, I was looking at some lists, and many lists put Edges of the World, which comes before that, when, you know, the father, what was his name? Bruce, and, you know, I think middle Allison are driving in a car, and in that moment
it's right after Telephone Wire, which I also love that song.
Also that.
Yeah.
But when adult Allison kind of gets to step into the car and be, you know, and say the things that she wanted to say, or to have the conversation she wanted to have now with her dad that she wasn't able to have at the time, and kind of like put herself back in those shoes. A lot of people had that song in that list, in this kind of list. But to me, the most emotional... The ending. It's always the ending.
I was going to say, I saw all of that too, and I was like, but have you guys heard Flying Away? Because that really, like, soars above the other one for me. Like, Edges of the World is, I can understand it, but I'm like, but have we heard the song? Have we heard the way that these girls are singing about their dad? Like, have we heard that they are, like, reminiscing on the past with each other, even though they're all the same character? It, like, perfectly ties up that entire story. And... like, it leaves you with a gut punch for sure, which is maybe, like, not the best way to end your musical, but it made... I'm still thinking about it. I'm thinking about it all these years later.
It is the best way.
I'm like, should I read the graphic novel now?
Wow, maybe. Maybe you should.
Okay, so those are our top fives.
Plus one.
Plus one. Top six. That was our one crossover that we didn't do, but we let ourselves do.
We loved it.
Okay, let's do a few honorable mentions here. What do you got?
Okay, one that I sent you in the middle of the night last night that I was thinking about. What is from the musical Falsettos, maybe one of the saddest musicals ever? Maybe? Yeah. And there's many you could choose from this musical, but the one that I'm gonna pick is What Would I Do, sung in Act 2 by Marvin and Whizzer. You know, Whizzer is about to die, and kind of they're singing about, you know, the how grateful kind of they are to have had each other in their lives, but also how sad and depressed that they're not going to get to, like, live the rest of their lives together. And it just gets me. And also specifically, we saw this when did we saw C6 in 2019 in Chicago. We saw it on tour with Max von Essen and Nick Adams, who, like, to me, that is the definitive performance of that song. Like, sorry to Christian Borle.
Andrew Reynolds.
Sorry to Andrew Reynolds, but Max von Essen and Nick Adams singing that song. It used to be on YouTube. I couldn't find it yesterday. They used to be on YouTube, them doing it at like a TV, like local TV station on YouTube. I watch that all the time. I don't think it's there anymore. No, it's just like for them at 54 Below. But they sound so absolutely stunning on that song, and it is absolutely devastating to me.
Yeah, agree. It's been a while since I've, like, dabbled in falsettos, but there was a time there when I feel like I was watching and listening to it all the time.
One of the best captured musical.
Oh yeah, it's
on
so
stage.
good. Yeah, I think it's on Broadway HD for anyone that has Broadway HD. Or honestly, the
Not
entire
me.
thing might be on YouTube. So just look for it.
Search.
Okay, an honorable mention for me. Again, we're just gonna come into modern musical theater here. I know that since like the first time we've seen this show, like everyone's kind of become a hater on it, but we're always defending Dear Evan Hansen on this podcast. Words fail. This is the like I guess like Evan emotional climax moment of the show. It's quite close to the end, and if you were in the second row listening to Robert Marcus sing this, you also were probably crying. Every time I see this show, every person I've heard sing this makes me cry. And I think this is one of those two that like I feel so bad for the actor in this song as well, because they are so beyond emotional and like really, really going through it during this song. I do think this is a really beautiful song. Especially, we've talked about it like extensively, like the part when he's kind of like talk singing in the song. Anyway, it's one of my favorites from the show, and it's kind of a tearjerker.
Yeah, it kind of is.
It kind of is. I did cry many times throughout that show, but that's the one that I think like is the most tears that fall.
It's the most tearjerker. Yeah, to me, if I were to pick my tearjerker from Dear Evan Hansen, this is not one of my three, I would go with You Will Be Found. You Will Be Found. To me, when you get, like, you know, all the voices
It's the Larry Murphy
together,
moment, though.
Larry Murphy moment. It is Larry Murphy, but it's just everyone's voice together cannot be beat. Cannot be beat. You know, a harmony. A harmony is where it's at for me.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to pick another one. This is so hard. Like, to have to edit myself.
I'm also trying to do, I feel like we're both trying to do, like, different things here. Because, like...
Yeah, variety.
We could bring up, like, the obvious ones, but I'm trying not to. Yeah.
We're not going to talk about Waitress. Maybe we are, but I don't think we're going to talk about Waitress.
We're also not going to talk about, like, Bring Him Home from Les Mis, which many people would classify as, like, the number one, but we're not going to talk about it.
Boring. Okay, I'm going to go to another one of my favorite musicals. We're doing the reveal again. And this is another musical that I had a hard time pinpointing which song I wanted to speak about in this show because there's so many. But for me, I'm talking about Next to Normal.
Oh my god, are we going to have the same one?
Well, I don't know. I have pinpointed maybe bracket Next to Normal. The other one I have here is I Am the One reprise.
That's the one.
That's where you're gonna go. To be honest, like I Am the One reprise, like I'm
That's
actually out of tears by that point. I'm cried out.
No.
I'm cried out.
When he says Gabriel, I'm done. I am on the floor.
No, I'm sad. I have nothing left to give. I've already been sobbing. So we had to go a little earlier in the show. And I went to maybe Next to Normal, which is kind of just a conversation between Natalie and Diana, just speaking, you know, about the realities of their life. And there's no real resolution to this song. It's just, you know, Diana saying, this is what I tried to do all these things. And Natalie said, well, yeah, I see that, but, you know, I don't know if it was enough, or I don't know what that means. And it kind of is left on like this really bittersweet note, and it gets me every time. The whole musical really, just from beginning to end, I'm a mess. But yeah, maybe Next to Normal. That the final like 5-6 songs like as a piece, but this is the one that I have pinpointed as my tear-jerking moment.
And I will talk about I Am the One reprise. Here I am with another reprise on this list. The first time that this is sung, it's much more angry, obviously. It's a completely different circumstance than where we are at the end of the show. This is sung by J. Robert Spencer and Aaron Tveit, who I think he's giving like... Not Aaron Tveit. J. Robert Spencer is giving like the vocal performance of his life on this song. Yeah. However, if you've ever seen the...
Where are you?
I don't know. But also, if we've ever seen the Brian Darcy James bootleg, that's actually the one that devastates me the most.
DJ.
It is the end of this song that I actually like cannot even with the way that they are, whatever they're doing I just imagine them like in the recording studio doing this, the way that Aaron says, "Hi, Dad."
Hi, Dad. Mm-hmm.
It is so devastating. Yeah, it's kind of like, you know, at this point she's left him, right?
Yeah,
like at the
it's
end.
After So Anyway, I'm Leaving. It's after that.
So like Diana's left him, and now he's like having this moment finally for the first time, like with his son who's dead, but like he's letting himself let go and feel the feelings. And the entire show, you don't get that until this song. What's the dad's name again in this?
Dan.
Dan. And we're getting a call back to a song from way earlier, so we already know like the melody, we already know what we're expecting here, but it's the way that they like sing to each other. But it's really the end here. The music like instrumentally changes. He says Gabe for the first time, and then he says Gabriel, his full name, for the first time, and then you just get like Gabe saying "Hi, Dad," as if he like finally sees him. But there's like a cry in Aaron's voice when he says it. It's freaking devastating. Like, it's so sad to me. But yeah, honestly, the Brian Tracy James bootleg is the one, so go watch that, because there's the way that he acts his way through it is heartbreaking.
There's a line in that song that they both sing at the same time. It's like, "I am the one who watched as you died," and they're like speaking to each other. No, it's not okay.
This entire show is actually straight manipulation, I would say.
Yeah. What a time.
But like, I'm not mad at it. I'm there to be manipulated.
A show I love. A show I love very much. Again, a formative show for me. Okay, I've used so many tissues right now. Okay, my final... Okay, my final one. This is actually really hard for me to pick, because I've got a few here that I've just like maybe potentially selected. Okay, we're gonna end with this song. Maybe we might call this a lighter musical, lighter fare, but I think they musical comedy so hard throughout the whole show that when you get to this moment, and it's kind of one of the first like fully sincere emotional moments, it hits really hard, and that is Legally Blonde from the musical Legally Blonde.
What a classic. What a classic.
You know, Elle has just been giving comedy for the past hour and a half. It's all been cutesy and funny and silly, and then
some girls were just meant to smile.
Some girls were just meant to smile. Like, no, it's not okay. It's not okay for them to do that. And yeah, I think like they've built up this character who is kind of unflappable. Whatever happens to her, you know, she always like rolls with it or figures something out or has a smile. But in this moment, like when she gives up, you know how serious it is, or how much she is hurting because of what you've seen throughout the rest of the show. And even just like the way it's orchestrated, it sounds different from what we've heard the rest of the show. Love, adore. So good.
So good. A great performance by Christian Borle as well.
Yes, of course. Okay, Tara.
On the other side of the door. I'm actually gonna leave this on a happy note here.
Wow.
This is a happy tearjerker song. This is a song that I feel like many people overlook when they think about this show. But to me, it's one of the most impactful, like, character growth moments. And this is from Dreamgirls, and it's the song I Am Changing, sung by Effie. So I feel like I could obviously say, And I'm Telling You is the tearjerker of the show, because it is. Yeah. Like, don't get me wrong. But this is the song when Effie, for the first time, is like, no, I have agency. I can do this on my own. I can step out into the music industry on my own. I don't need anybody's help. And it starts with her just saying, like, look at me. And then she goes into the whole song. Yeah, I feel like especially with a show like this that is so, at times can be, like, such a downer, this feels like such a happy moment. And then I think we get like very close to the end here I believe like the next song is like Hard to Say Goodbye, but let me look that up. I love the way it's done in the movie, the way that Jennifer Hudson does it, but then also like I've talked about this before, but I saw it in the West End with Amber Riley, who that cast recording, she really gives like a really impressive vocal performance on this. Oh no, it's really early. It's like song 3 in the West End. In Act 2. I Am Changing, and then we get through like Listen, Hard to Say Goodbye, all that. But in the movie, it's much later. Anyway, I just think it's like a really happy, emotional moment for a character that's kind of like gone through it for the majority of this show. And I just love that finally she gets to sing what she wants to sing and be her own person. This is after she has a kid. This is after whatever Jamie Foxx's character has left her. Curtis has left her. She's been like dropped by the record label. Her like ex-best friend is now dating her ex-boyfriend. Like it's a whole thing. And then finally she has this moment. And I love this song. So yeah, a happy way to end the Tearjerkers. But truly there's so many songs on here.
I know. The restraint I'm having right now by not speaking about others, but we will have self-control. We'll share a playlist on our social media of, you know, many more tear-jerking songs, including the ones we listed today, plus additional ones that we thought of. And please share what your tear-jerking songs are.
I can't believe nothing made it on this list from Just for One Day.
That was a tearjerker for me. But it was no jukebox musicals. We didn't even state that rule, but...
No, we didn't. And musicals. There was a moment when I was like, you know what's on my long list? We're still here. I thought about the jukebox musicals rule, so I just didn't do anything about it.
It
but
just
like
didn't occur to me, honestly.
But like that's the way it is from Anne Juliet is definitely the moment.
That's the way it is. I was thinking about like Jagged Little Pill. I really cried during Jagged, but no.
Did you?
Originals only. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I did.
I don't know, because I feel like when we came home from that trip, we were like, we didn't cry this whole trip at all.
Maybe
that was Oklahoma trip. That was, what else did we see? West Side Story.
That was crazy.
I'm trying to think what song would have made me cry in Jagged.
I think like the end of Act 1 is pretty...
Yeah, wake up.
Okay, we're done.
We're done. Yeah, that was our Tearjerkers list. As Steph said, there's a Spotify playlist. And this will go into our ranking episodes playlist on YouTube as well. So if you want to see our other ranking episodes, you can go through that. But with that, it's now time for our obsession of the week. Okay, Steph, what's your obsession?
My obsession is I'm always looking for a new podcast to listen to, and one that I've been enjoying recently is Dinners on Me with Jesse Tyler Ferguson. So the concept of this podcast is they go to a restaurant for dinner, and the funniest part is that you hear them like ordering, you hear the waiter on it, they get food during it, they like
this is what we tried to
what are the specials?
This is what we tried to do with the podcast I was working on at work, but honestly it's so hard. You need like really good audio to be able to do this.
It's hard.
Which like he's a celebrity, he's got the money.
No, they've definitely got I don't know, are they on iHeartRadio? I don't know if they are. Sony Music Entertainment, doesn't really matter. But yeah, and it's really fun. And of course, Jesse Tyler Ferguson is, you know, in the theater community. So some recent guests of episodes that I listened to. Nathan Lane was a really interesting one. He talked about, you know, how he got cast in The Birdcage and kind of how that coincided with funny thing that happened on the way to the Forum. I listened to the Michael Urie episode, who talked about his journey to how to succeed in business without really trying on Broadway. That's kind of an interesting story. And then I was midway through the Ashley Park episode before we hopped on today, because, you know, she... has done so much different theater and was kind of speaking about her journey kind of to theater and what she expected, what kind of work she expected to get when she was in school versus what she ended up getting and kind of the trajectory her career was on. So it was really, really fun, interesting episodes. And I think it's kind of so funny that you hear the waiter being like, yes, here's the specials. What do you want to drink? Do you have something like this?
Can you hear the like cutlery on plates?
Not as much. I do think it's quite edited down.
Yeah.
Because the episodes are under an hour long, and I'm sure they're there for much longer than that. But not quite. Editors. I don't think they're like eating and then speaking, you know?
Right. Because, yeah, honestly, like, it's like interesting for me because I I work in media. I've said this before. But I was working on a podcast that was this concept. It was so challenging audio-wise to be able to figure this out. And also, like, as you're saying, of, like, when do you break to actually, like, taste the food?
Yeah. Did this podcast ever come out, Tara?
Yeah, it did.
Oh, it did? Where was I?
It was... No, I think you knew. It was, honestly, it was, like, a tester podcast for, like, what's happening right now.
So sorry.
No, it's fine. I don't know many people that did, but it was kind of like it was a test run for the show I'm currently working on, basically.
Yeah.
But no, it was like such a challenge, and also like it's funny to hear about like the waiters, because like when we went to these restaurants, the waiters were like, "Is it okay if I speak?" And I was like, "Yeah, talk into the microphone. Like I want to hear it."
Yeah.
That's the point.
Yeah, I do wonder what the logistics of it are for this. Like, and then at the beginning they'll be like, "We're at this restaurant." At the end they'll tell you again what restaurant they're at. They'll say like what they ordered. They want that too. Like that's part of it as well.
Yeah, because it's like an exchange thing, basically. Like we'll give you promo if you do this. But were there other people in the restaurant? Sorry, I'm like so
Couldn't
curious in this now.
Don't know. I really don't know.
But you can't hear like other like
no,
patrons?
It doesn't feel very loud in the background. You should listen to one or two because they're kind of interesting.
It is interesting because we had to like shut the restaurant down, basically, and then like. We were the only people in there, but we had a boom mic and 2 lavs if you're interested in how we did that. I'm assuming they all had these like super powerful lavs, but
I'm assuming they have individual microphones. I doubt they mic'd the waitress or the waiter. Sometimes it's a man. But they probably maybe handed them one. They're not usually as loud as the
it's just like background noise kind of. Yeah, that makes sense.
Depends what they're saying.
Interesting. Okay, I'm gonna listen.
Yeah. Tara, what's your obsession this week?
Okay, my obsession this week, after we did our Way Too Early Tony nominations episode and kind of we're talking about like best original score, I went back and listened to last year's winner of best original score, Suffs. And I'm going to say something. Not that I think that we made bad decisions in our October trip, but I think we should have seen Suffs.
I think we should have seen Suffs. It was really hard. It was really hard this October trip.
I don't have regrets, but I have regrets based on what I'm hearing, because this is one of the better cast recordings I've heard in like a long time. Yeah, go ahead.
The thing I've heard about Suffs is that the music is great, the book is great, the production was not great.
Meh. Yeah, I think that's kind of like
let's
what
wait
made
for
our
another
decision.
production to come around. Yeah.
Well, they did film it for PBS, so I will watch the great performances whenever that does come out.
When I was in line for Oh Mary, I was chatting with someone else in line because we were separated during this particular rush line, and I was just chatting like, "Oh, I haven't caught Suffs. I haven't caught that." Someone else in line was like, "You have to see Suffs."
I know. I was hearing that too.
You have to see it, and I was like, "I don't know."
I know.
Anyway,
sorry to like hard. Mattress, but that is the one we would have swapped out, I think, for Suffs. Just because like we were seeing Sunset, we were seeing The Outsiders, we were seeing Cabaret, we were seeing Oh Mary, but that was kind of like a maybe. And if maybe we didn't go to like Empire Records, then maybe we could have seen it because we would have been in the city.
I was so happy to see Empire Records.
Exactly. Anyway, you should listen to this. You've talked about specifically Shayna Top before, and how she's like the lead in this, but there's so many other women in this that like they kind of all split different characters. I could pick out like so many songs on this cast recording to talk about, but I am gonna pick for the sake of this the song Insane, which is sung by Shayna's character. It's so beautiful. She has such a unique tone of her voice that it's just like really pleasant to listen to. It's interesting, like I'm not going to make the Hamilton comparison because I know that that's what everybody wants to do here is make the Hamilton comparison. But there are songs that do sound a little bit like Hamilton, especially like the marching songs, the like revolutionary kind of songs. And then you have like these quiet moments like this song that I loved. I don't even know how I kind of like stumbled. I know. Who lives, who dies, who tells your story. Quiet Uptown.
That's fine.
Like there's a couple.
Who tells your story? Okay, keep going.
But yeah, like I was just listening to my like radio station on Apple Music, and I think the song Finish the Fight came on, and I was like, what is this? And then I clicked on the entire thing and listened to it through. I can imagine what people are saying about the production. I've seen the photos from it, so like I get that. I just think that, like, being in that room and hearing these women might have made us feel differently than just, like, the production at all. It also made me, like, research, because I did not know a lot of the stuff that happened during the suffragette movement. So I felt very uneducated.
We have some excuse of being Canadian, but also, I don't know if I necessarily know the Canadian history of this either. So
yeah. And there's a couple women in this show that play men, because we do have, like, a president song, but it's a full women cast. I believe they did Keep Marching On at the Tonys.
At the Tonys, yeah. Which I did cry.
But also at the time I was like, I don't know if that was the best way to showcase this show. I don't know. It's kind of interesting.
A lot of people felt that. A lot of people felt that was not the best song to choose to showcase that show. Again, I cried, so, like, can I criticize? Like, I don't necessarily think it was a bad choice, because it's hard to... I'm not familiar with the show, but, like, it's hard to pick out just, like, a one song thing that will just, like, get a message across. And I think that's what they were going for in that moment.
100%. Yes. I think they were doing message first, everything else after. I actually think I would have chosen the opening number, which is Let Mother Vote. For the climate. Kind of interesting. I can only imagine...
So a year ago, though, Biden was president.
No, I know. But still, like, everyone knew... Well, actually, no one did know what was happening at that point. You're so right. You're so right. But speaking of that, I can only imagine what it was like to sit in that audience the day after the U.S. election this year. I cannot even, if I think about it too hard, like, I'll cry. And also, they were one of the only shows that ran on election night. I remember we were looking this up specifically to see who was running.
Shayna Taub was in ragtime at the time, and she, like, called out to go do this.
Yeah. Anyway, it's a really, really good cast recording. It's a really good listen, so I highly recommend it. I do think that, like, you do get quite a bit of story through this. I don't know if it's, like, 100% sung through, but based on this, it sounds like it kind of could be. There's 36 songs on the cast recording. But yeah, Keep Marching is, like, the last song, so that's why I am surprised. The Act 1 finale is really good, but yeah, to me, like, I would have chosen the opening number, but again, for the sake of this episode, I am choosing the song Insane. It is just so beautifully sung by Shayna Taub. And it makes me excited to see what she can do next, because she obviously knows how to write a musical.
I know. Everything she sings, I love. I'm a fan.
Yeah. And Suffs is on tour, so I know it is coming to American cities. So it might be coming to a city
I don't know if it's going to come here.
Near you. No, I don't think it is going to come here, but I saw it somewhere. I think it's going to Vegas is where I saw it. Maybe it's
Did she
there.
co-write Devil Wears Prada? Is she working on Devil Wears Prada?
Oh. Sorry. Sorry,
It's playing in the West End. I've heard it's better than it was in Chicago, but...
Are you watching Ashley Hufford's TikToks? Because I also saw that.
I think I saw Kate Ranking talk about it.
You know what we should be talking about, which we can't because I've only heard like a snippet, but apparently the Benjamin Button musical is like the best musical ever.
I know. I want to I keep faving things about it because I want to listen, and when stuff comes out, maybe talk about it on here a bit. But yeah, Benjamin Button.
There's no cast recording yet. I agree.
I think that's gotta move.
But based on what I've seen, I'm like, this is not what I pictured. I've got a great city for an out of town.
Can I pitch a city for an out of town?
It would be a UK import if anyone's listening.
Is it at the Old Vic?
No, I don't know where it is right now. Wait, is it? Sorry, now I'm curious to know if Shayna Taub.
I think Shayna Taub did. Is it the Chocolate Factory?
It is. Okay, so it's music by Elton John and lyrics by Shayna Taub.
Lyrics by Shayna Taub. Yeah. Elton never writes lyrics.
No. Oh, wait, did he never? I feel like he did on one of...
Elton never writes lyrics.
He's always
Tammy
worked
Faye
with,
was
Tim
Jake
Rice.
Shears. Tim Rice does lyrics. Yeah. Elton only does the music.
Yeah. Anyway, that's my Social Note of the Week. That's our Tearjerkers ranking episode. As we said, there's a playlist on Spotify and a playlist on YouTube. So you can go back and watch some of those ranking episodes. But if you want to listen to them on podcast, you can do that by subscribing to our podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. And you can subscribe to us on YouTube. And don't forget to leave us a comment.
Yes, tell us what your favorite tearjerker is, or if you have any ideas for any ranking episodes that we should do in the future. Feel free to follow us on X and Instagram at Off to Broadway Podcast with the number 2, or on TikTok at Off to Broadway.
And we'll see you guys next time.
Bye!